Who would have thought that all these years later I'd be back in the classroom where I began first grade.
In '43, it was very expensive to heat. And my desk was in front of the fireplace that had no damper in it, so it was very drafty until my dad came and stuffed the New York Times up it.
We had lunch downstairs, and I think this was our classroom right here. I remember it being a fairly large room.
All of our activities happened in this space, but I do remember working at that blackboard that had white lines on it so we would do our script.
It was quite an experience. It was such a homey feel. I mean, you only have about 15, 16 people in each class.
And there was a curtain across between the two sections, and we had the same teacher. I never got up to the third floor when I went to school here. I didn't even know there were classrooms up here. There were 2 classrooms, I guess. I didn't know that because we were good doobies and we stayed where we were supposed to stay, or at least I did. Playground was out back. Loved being out there on the swings and all, but they were metal. So if you went too close or you weren't paying attention, you got clocked. It was a little painful.
That wall wasn't there, so we used to sled down that hill in the winter. We all went running around going down with Nixon, up with Alan Shepard. We were so excited that an American had gone into space.
My mother remembers going to school here in the early 1900s. Well, my children, Susan and Jerry, both went to school in this building. They used to, I guess he raised hell. One lunchtime down in what is now the gift shop, his friend Jeffrey put the contents of the salt shaker into his milk bottle. And in those days, Mrs. Delano, who was very strict about drinking milk, made sure that every child finished the half pint that they were given. And Jerry didn't finish his, so she came over and she said, "Finish your milk." And of course, with the contents of the salt shaker in it, he wasn't about to. Nor was he about to squeal on his friend Jeffrey. So he said, no, he said, "I'm not going to drink it." And she said, "Well, we'll sit here until you do." So as they sat through 2 class periods, at the end of which she was so angry that she got up and flounced up the stairs, slipped and fell, and of course, children laughed like mad.
I was 8 years old in the 3rd grade. I was a little sweet on a 4th grader. Alan Carr, we have 4 children, all of whom went to Derby. We have 9 grandchildren, and 3 of whom have gone to Derby. Because there were 2 classes in the ballroom, there was a wire that ran across it, and hanging from the wire were army blankets, and that was the separation of 3rd and 4th grade. So I could hear Alan's voice when he was answering questions in the 4th grade.
After we'd had lunch and our nap time, we had nap time, Mrs. Delano read books to us.
And it was basically, I think, a piece of cardboard, which was your mat. And I don't remember a pillow or anything. But
I don't remember mats, I just remember the floor.
Which no one really slept, but
Derby was the favorite place I ever went. And I had the best teachers. And I learned everything I needed to know here at Derby.
My father had polio the year that I was here, and I was kept out of school for about a month. And I remember coming back, and Mrs. Wright just grabbed me and hugged me, and I just remember that as a very memorable moment. She was a wonderful teacher, and I remember her to this day.
The teachers are famous. They left such an imprint and made such a difference in terms of where I was able to go in my life.
In science, Mr. Johnson had a snake, a milk snake, in a terrarium. On Friday, he just brought a little white mouse to school and said, "We're going to put these 2 in the terrarium together and we'll see what happens." When we came to school on Monday, the mouse was there, but no snake. And I'll never forget it, nor will anybody else in my class. We still talk about it when we have reunions.
Mr. Ranieri, he came to my house, and I think in one session with him, it just clicked. He just made it make sense. And it was like a big family.
I'm so glad that the building has been renovated and is being made use of by the Historical Society. so that people will know about the early history of Hingham.
Inside has been totally redone and is absolutely spectacular.
I've seen its evolution, so it's not a total shock to walk back into it. I do sort of miss the cubbies, though, that were over in the corner.
I think because it was such a positive experience for me, I'm really happy to come back and talk with the kids. I love coming back and seeing what they're doing. The spirit of the school and caring for each other, building good groundwork for their future education is absolutely fantastic and very, very strong here.
I'd say the kind of intimate atmosphere that we had has given way to a broader reach in terms of where the students come from, and certainly a much broader base of activities than was there when we were here.
The impulses of the parents to get the very best education they can for their kids, and the school's desire to inculcate in their students a sense of goodness, civic responsibility, being kind to your neighbor. That has carried forward. I think that's a constant, I think, in the school.
It really restores our interest and love of Derby.
My special blessing, I think, is that this is where I met my wife.
This was for over a century and a half an active schoolhouse. Think of all the generations of Hingham kids and kids from surrounding towns who got their start in life here.